Perfect, that's a wrap.
Hello my darlings, and welcome to my monthly wrap-up where I talk about all the books that I read in the month of August. So let's start with the stats before I go on to my 1-star reviews for every book I read. Every book I read is featured in my vlogs if you want a more in-depth review. So I read 36 books, which equated to 10,683 pages, which averaged out to 345 pages per day. My average rating was 3.32, and I read from many genres. The top 5 were fantasy, horror, litfic, romantasy, and sci-fi. I did have a whopping 3 5-star reads this month, and yes, they were all part of the Dunegone Crawler Carl series, so when I get to them, you'll know. This series is an overall 5-star series for me, and unfortunately I've come to the end of it for now and must wait a year before the next installment is released. As usual, most of the books I read are backlist, but I did read 15 new releases this month. 12 of the books I read were physical books, 20 were ebooks, and 4 were audiobooks. 27 came from the library. 5 of them I purchased. 3 were ARCs from NetGalley and 1 was gifted. The best cover of this month is Odd Body by Rose Keating. I actually did a whole video based on gorgeous book covers. Now for best audio, I will say that none of them were really amazing, but out of all of the audiobooks I listened to, I would have to give it to Stinkbug by Sinead Stubbins, and this was narrated by Sonia Kerr. As usual, I am still doing my Chanel's chapter challenge, and the prompt for this month was author August, which is read either a debut or new to you author. And the new author I read this month was Jessica Gross, who wrote Open Wide, and is definitely an author I would read from again. Now let me give you my 1-sentence reviews for everything that I read. So we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Best friends don't let demons come between them. The Confessional, a graphic novel by Paige Hender. She Came for Redemption. She Stayed for the Priest Kink. The Dead Husband Project by Sarah Meehan Sirk. Her Husband Didn't Die, which ruined her whole exhibit. Instructions for Traveling West, poems by Joyce Sullivan. Go west, in the open air. Go west, where the skies are blue. Go west. This is what we're gonna do. The Girl Who Became a Rabbit by Emily Menzel. So dense and flowery I could barely hear the words and meaning. The Gate of the Feral Gods, the 4th in the Dungeon Crawler series by Matt Dinniman. Harder, Daddy. The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington. Golden Girls, but more boring and more bonkers. We All Rot Eventually, a horror novella by Mia Ballard. Hollywood is a hellmouth, and she said, slay. Odd Body by Rose Keating. The Body Keeps the Score. This one also keeps mucus, ghosts, and eggs. Blossom Eyes by Simon. I always say his name weird when I say Blossom Eyes. Blossom Eyes by Simon Armitage. Frilly Flower Poems. Fan Tastes, a Fairy Romance for Men and Women by George MacDonald. Himbo goes full Pygmalion and falls in love with a lady statue and every type of other lady who crosses his path in fairyland. After the Animal Flesh Beings by Brian Evenson. Playing House, Creepy Robot Edition. The Butcher's Masquerade, the 5th in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Dinniman. The Rich Came to Hunt, and Carl Goes Full Mad Cunt. Dislocation Space by Garth Nix. When You're Stuck Between a Gulag and a Glitch in Reality. Hell of a Witch by Rachel Aaron. Heaven Called. It Wants Its Anchor Back. Awakened by Laura Elliott. Thea is basically Teresa from Maze Runner, but more boring and more shit. Also, turns out sleep is important, guys. Waif by Samantha Kersnick. Plastic Surgery, Dark Web Porno, and A Personal Reckoning. This Ain't Your Mum's Self-Discovery Arc. Suppose You Met a Witch by Ian Soulier. It's 1970s children's magic book meets acid fairy tale trippiness. Cure by Catherine Brabin. Chronic illness meets mother-daughter mirroring in Italy. Endling by Maria Riva. All this to get Lefty laid? The Pickled Apocalypse of Pancake Island by Cameron Pierce. Angry Pickle ruins sticky pancake land with his sour brine. Plain Jane and the Mermaid by Vera Brosgol. She's plain, she's mediocre, she's about to raise hell underwater. The Eye of the Bedlam Bride, the sixth in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Dinniman. Ghosts, Guards, Trading Cards, and Queefing Spiders. Juice, A History of Female Ejaculation by Stephanie Hurdle. Caution, Slippery When Wet, House of Blight, The Threadmender Chronicles by Maxime M. Martineau. Love, Lies, and Lethal Pathogens. Open Wide by Jessica Gross. Highly Unsanitary Vibrator Cleaning Methods. The Humans by Matt Haig. He Came to Kill Humans. He Stayed for the Peanut Butter. When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. Bedtime Stories Just Got Fatal. This Inevitable Ruin, the seventh in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Dinniman. Carl might not have broken, but my brain sure has. Jesus Oozy Christ, Matt Dinniman. What the fucking cheese dicks was that? I was doing sex doll face the whole 880 pages. Mood Swings by Frankie Barnett. Will Fetch for Cash. The Library at Hallowell by Cassandra Core. Lip Biting, but Make It Deadly. Big Pussy Energy by Vanessa Murajan. Get that pussy pride and have a play with your vajayjay. House of the Beast by Michelle Wong. She wanted a cure for her mother, but what she got was a starborn god with a vengeance kink. Within the space of a second, The Mark of the Time Traveller by Elise Halliwell. I'd like to travel back to the past and not pick this book up. Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. Fake biography of a fake character who I don't give a fuck about. Terror at the Gates, Blood of Lilith by Scarlett St. Clair. When your side hustle turns into a holy crisis and 9 orgasms. Immaculate Conception by Lingling Huang. She's not in your contacts, she's in your cortex. I'm pretty sure those were all the books. If not, you'll see me insert again. But now we're going to go on to my TBR for the month of September. So as usual, I've chosen 5 and then the tarot will give me prompts for the final 5. So let's go. So here we have Sleep by Honor Jones. Margaret's childhood, filled with sunlit moments, is disrupted one summer when a line is crossed, leaving her forever changed. 25 years later, newly divorced and raising 2 daughters, she finds herself revisiting the shadows of her past while learning to create a safe, loving future. Sleep is a tender, humane exploration of memory, family, and the quiet resilience required to move forward. I Love Shopping by Lauren Cook. Lauren Cook's I Love Shopping is like if late-stage capitalism, a hot topic clearance rack, and a poetry zine had a messy but loving child. And then let that child run wild in a mall food court on Free Sample Day. The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. Nima Kra just wanted to vibe with her scrolls, but now she's stuck in an imperial murder mystery with 7 overachievers and 1 surprise dragon-shaped twist. The Emperor's retiring, somebody's already dead, and if Nima doesn't solve the case, the only thing she'll be ruling is her own funeral. It's brain versus brawn versus bird metaphors in a high-stakes academic thunderdome no one sane actually wants. Hope you packed your ceremonial murder robes. Things are about to get scholarly. The Poppy Fields by Nikki Ehrlich. 4 emotionally dented strangers and a dog road trip to a magical desert sleep spa where you can snooze your way through grief. Side effects may include mystery, questionable ethics, and bonding with people you normally wouldn't let drive your car. Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. John reveals how TB went from tragic Victorian poet's accessory to deadliest curable disease, and how humanity basically keeps making it worse through bad policies, bad priorities, and bad luck. So let's get tarot shuffling and get some prompts. Okay, so I'm just using one of my own little decks, so let's get shuffling. Okay, we've got the 6 of Wands, and the prompt for this is the best first sentence out of 3 books. So I'm going to grab my Kindle, I'm going to open the first 3 books I see on there, and we're going to choose, that's fun, that's really fun actually. So let's choose the best first sentence out of 3. Okay, first book we have is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. So let's go. Oh, this text is way too small. On the battered paper map that's carried the two of them across, they're not sure how many of the American states now, this is Proof Rock, Idaho, and the dark body of water before them is Indian Lake, and it kind of goes forever out into the night. Look, that's probably a 2 out of 5, guys. I'm sorry, that doesn't really do much for me. All right, now, then I've got the poppy fields, but we're not doing that because that's already in my TBR. Okay, we've got a book called The Lost Tarot by Sarah Henstra. On the last day of her uncle Corvo's life, Nell Larkin paid her final visit to the Moss Throne. That's about a 3. That's a 3 out of 5. I'm going to be honest, they didn't really get me going. Okay, now we have NPCs by Drew Hayes. The halls stank of death, a sour mixture that cobbled together the worst parts of time, neglect, and rot. That's a 4 out of 5. So we've got a winner, NPCs. Okay, back to the tarot. So we got the 9 of Pentacles, and for this one, an orange cover. So let's have a look. I will choose as usual 3, and then I will narrow it down and tell you at the end what the last ones were. So orange cover, do we have any? Look, Automatic Noodle by Annalee Newitz has orange on there, so I'm going to chuck that on there. Seed by Anya Alborn, I would say that's orange. All right, let's find one more. The Scholar of Moab by Stephen L. Peck. So one of those 3 will be my orange cover pick. Let's keep looking. Next we have 8 of Wands, and the prompt for this one is a novella under 800 pages. I meant to say under 200 pages, not 800 pages. Obviously I read books under 200 pages in my short books blog, but hey, we can throw a novella into my regular reading too, why not? Okay, so we have Toxemia by Christine McNair. That's a book of poetry. Bone Set and Feathers by Gwendolyn Kist. And Tantrum by Rachel Eve Moulton. So all of those books come in under 200 pages. We'll do two more prompts. Okay, we have 8 of Swords, and the prompt for this is pick a book based on your perfume. I'm currently wearing Angel by Thierry Mugler. So for this one, I am going to have to do a bit of homework because I've got to think about how I want to approach that. Do I go with the style of the bottle, which is a blue star? Do I do the name Angel, the fragrance house? Do I do something how I feel the scent feels? And yeah, I might do that. As I usually do with my book reviews, I'll say the book that I would pair with this perfume based on the vibe of it. So I have to think about that. Obviously, I can't do it off the top of my head, but I'll put whichever book I end up picking for Angel here. All right, we'll do one more prompt. And the card we got for this is Temperance, and that is read a book with an even number of pages. So let me just look at the first ones I see. Okay, we have Audition by Katie Kitamura, which is 200 pages. The Nature Book by Tom Komita, 272 pages. And Astra by Cedar Bowers at 286. So I will now put a graphic up here of the final 5 books that I'm reading for this reading vlog. So that was my wrap up of August and my, my wrap up of August and my TBR for September. I get confused with the dates because I feel my head of time. But that's everything. Do let me know down below what your favorite read of August was. And until next time, stay wild, Star Child.
That's a wrap, everybody.